Hello everyone, my name is Parusha and today I will presenting my forensic analysis for p2.pcap file. So it's an incident for the full domain compromised involving ICE ID malware known as a BOCbot equipped with Black Connect module. So let's move on to the next slide. So starting with the overview, this was a far more complex and severe attack than what we saw in P1 analysis. The capture spans nearly 3 hours and it merged around like looking for the key metrics, and the duration was 2 hours and 52 minutes, much longer than P1 incident. We recorded 20 automated alerts events, 6 rated critical, 9 high and 3 medium and 2 informational. This malware established 5 different command for and control channels, which shows sophistication of ICE ID compared to the simpler info stealers. The victim Windows workstation called desktop E7FHJS4 with the workforus.org Active Directory domain. The attacker leveraged this machine to enumerate the entire directory, exfiltrate credentials, launch spam campaigns, and ultimately more laterally about the domain control itself. Now let's walk through the attack timelines. Unlike the P1 incident, which was over 35 seconds, this was methodical multi-stage campaign. On the left hand side, it shows 4 phases. At 17:36, the compromised host authenticated to work for us org via Kerberos and immediately perform a DGA connectivity checked by querying a random subdomain, which returned a domain confirmed the DGA was active within the next few minutes. In between 17:02 and 17:03, there was a massive Active Directory enumeration, 1278 LDAP frames, 842 DRSUP frames for directory replication, and 774 SMB2 frames and more. The Dr. Supi usage is particularly alarming because it suggests the DC sync attack capabilities, and the malware payload was downloaded an HTTP GET request from the IP 128.256.4.207.55, which is around 1.76 megabyte ICE payload. And in between the 710 and 717, the data exfiltration began over the TLS with the IP 102.156.32.143 and send outbound likely to harvest the AD credentials. Now on the right hand side, the other later 4 phases, it's from the onward 1717, the primary C2 channel was established with 78 TLS session, receiving about 6 megabyte of data. Simultaneously, over 105 injection sequences were observed. A Black Connect binary C2 channel was also established on 78.31.67.7 on port 443 using a custom protocol on every 60 seconds. Then on 1922 to 1943, the spam campaign launched. 43 SMTP servers were contacted, all relied through the SOX proxy. An ARP scan of the entire /24 subnet was conducted and found the most critical at 1947 to 1949. The attacker moved laterally to the domain controller by deploying 3 DLL via SMB and creating a service to execute them. Now let's talk about the victim profile, endpoint profiles, where is desktop 7 at IP 10.00.149 for work for us org domain. The domain controller is workforus.dc at 10.0.0.6. Notably, the external net IP is 71.167.93.52 was already blacklisted, indicating this IP has been flagged for malicious activities. On the right, I have catalogued the all 8 malicious IP address involves, and there is also an initially malware delivery server at 128.254.207.54, the primary C2 at 208.187.122.74 with 78 TLS session, data exfiltration server, and the secondary C2 and all that. And finally, at the two back connect domain IPs is for furlintinos.com and toshak.com at the bottom. And the malicious file is the 86607.dat .det ICE DT payload, and the three randomly named DLL were deployed to the domain controller for lateral movement. Let's break down this into a six component of C2 infrastructure, which is really demonstrated and sophisticated ICE ID is compared to the similar malware. The primary TLS is at 208 IP, maintains 78 sessions with server name indication, and likely the modules and the template are pushed to the infected host, and it uses a heartbeat protocol on 60-second masquerading HTTPS to evade TLS inspection, and also the data exfiltration channel sent while only receiving was like less than 24 KB, and the symmetrically suggested a credential dump of Active Directory. The SOX proxy and on the non-standard port was used to relay all spam traffic. Additionally, on the layer and the web injection module was also produced with 105 sequence where visiting the legitimate site would trigger an immediate C2 beacon targeting the corporate and financial website for the real world form of grabbing. And finally, the back connect domain Ferlintiazo.com and the Toshak.com were also used for spam configuration and delivery. This slide covers the two most critical findings. On the left, Active Directory reconnaissance and the malware used six different protocols to enumerate domain. It uses LDAP for querying users, groups, and organizational unit, but most concerning is 842 Dr. Supi frames. This protocol is used for directory replication and indicates the potentially DC sync attack capabilities, which would allow the attackers to replicate password hashes directly from DC. And on the right hand side, the lateral movement details, three randomly named DLL were uploaded via SMB to domain controller, and services was created using create service wow64 to execute them. The MITRE attack mapping lateral tools and creating at the bottom spam campaign contacted 43 mail servers using stolen credential, while ARP reconnaissance scanned all 252 addresses in the subnet. Only the gateway and the DC responded, which is what directed the attacker towards the DC. For the reproducibility, I documented Wireshark filter, cover the payload, download, LDAP enumeration, C2 traffic, back connect hard pattern, data exfiltration, SMB lateral movement, and I also have my Python script automation script which passed all the packets, automatically detect the malware downloads, AP enumeration activity, and other stuff. And finally, for the remediation roadmap, phase one is like containment, isolating both victim workstation and domain controller, resetting all domain credentials and blocking the malicious IPs and domain. Phase two is investigation, and phase three is hardening and blocking all the stuff from other workstation. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day.